Well, hello everyone. Ogre27 Kane here today, and we're going to do a review of Tomb Raider 1, 2, and 3 Remastered for the Nintendo Switch. Let's do a brief overview and figure out what this is all about. So this review is going to basically be 3 mini reviews of Tomb Raider 1, 2, and 3. I have the deluxe edition, which includes a steelbook, exploration map book, and a digital soundtrack download. This is the best way to play these games in my opinion, as they've gone back and added a bunch of new features and a ton of new stuff. I absolutely love all of the expansions and DLCs being included too, so let's start with Tomb Raider 1. So starting off with Tomb Raider 1, this is honestly my favorite of the 3. I have the most nostalgia and I had the most fun with it back in the day. I played this way back on the Sega Saturn when it came out. And it's an exploration adventure type game, very much in the same vein as Uncharted, but this is the granddaddy and the precursor to that. The game does look super chunky, and yes, they've maintained all the PS1 cutscenes, but it still has a lot to offer, having the new updated controls and being able to switch to a modern control scheme, as well as changing your button layout and changing the sensitivity of it and getting rid of those ugly tank controls, really does make this the best way to play. I truly enjoy all these updates, and this is the one that you should start with out of the 3 just to give you a good handle on things. It is the least confusing and the most straightforward of all 3 of these. The other added feature is having that special map book that comes with it. If you ever get lost or confused on any of the keys or where to go in any level, you can just flip through that and find what you need. Tomb Raider 1 is fairly simplistic because none of the environments are terribly large and they are all fairly easy to explore. There are some weird hidden corners. Being a PS1 game, you'll miss going around certain areas. But the game still holds up well in my opinion today, and you can flip-flop back and forth between the PS1 graphics or the new updated graphics. Personally, I like the new updated graphics a lot better, but it is nice to go back and see those old PS1 graphics. The other added advantage is the lighting is better in the original graphics, so it can give you a better viewpoint of the area you're in. I think that if you're going to try these games out, that you should definitely start with the first one, but once again, it is kind of where your nostalgia fits and if it's something you're even interested in. The game also has a bunch of really cool, fun enemies, as well as the well-known T-Rex that everybody remembers. The T-Rex fight is still a blast, and everything else about the game screams PS1 like you wouldn't believe. Let's move on to Tomb Raider 2. So in Tomb Raider 2, they kind of took everything up a notch, and that includes not just the graphics and animations, but your guns that you have, which you have a plethora of them, and the enemies that you face. The only issue I have with Tomb Raider 2 is they almost tried too hard to make the environments confusing. There are a lot of levels in this that you will probably have to use that guide for, because they're not very straightforward and the game is not great at giving you hints on what you need to do. This is an old relic of the PS1 era, where a lot of times they were trying to get more bang for their buck and extend a shorter game for what they could. But the game still does look really good with all these new updates, and the game functions extremely well. The other thing too is that they added new weapons, as I said, that kind of give you a certain advantage or edge. But the game also has a bad habit of throwing a lot of weird puzzles at you. There's a lot of timed puzzles that will really annoy you. One of the biggest ones that bothered me is in the first level itself, because it almost expects you to have perfect platforming ability right off the bat. Back in the day, this frustrated the hell out of me and really turned me off towards this game. This is honestly my least favorite of the 3. Now that doesn't say anything about the story, because the story is fantastic in this game, but it can be a little bit confusing from time to time. As you're trying to move through each environment, you'll be trying to pick up pieces of that story and losing them as you get confused. I do like the enemy variety a little bit more in this game, and I do like the fact that it takes place in the Great Wall of China to start out. That does give it a different kind of air or feel to it, almost like Indiana Jones, but at the same time, you have to be prepared for what you're getting into. Tomb Raider 2 is a bit more difficult than Tomb Raider 1. Another thing I have to mention about Tomb Raider 2 is that they did introduce a bunch of new characters to the story, and they do give Laura a little bit more attitude, if you will. Not really bad things, but it certainly shows the fact that they were trying to create a character or persona that they could build upon going forward. This game is a lot of people's favorites, and I even remember back in the day most people liked this over the first one. I have a lot of personal connection and nostalgia to the first one, and I actually beat the first one without any help or assistance. This game required me to use a guide several times because the environments are so much more complex, and they are a lot more vertical too. There's a lot of hidden aspects and features in each area that can really drive you crazy. If you like the Tomb Raider games, it's not a bad game to play, but I recommend playing the first one first because it will throw you off from time to time. There's a lot of things they expect you to know about the first game before you play this to really get into it. It has an extremely high difficulty spike at a lot of places, but let's talk about the options and features now. So in this new options menu, it allows you to change a lot of things you couldn't in the first. As you can see here, you can switch between modern and tank controls, and you can actually change each button configuration to whatever you want. You can change your walk to action, you can upgrade the sensitivity, and you can even put on enemy hit bars. That's really useful on a lot of the bosses, especially when you're using the pistols, because sometimes it feels like they go on and on forever and you're not doing anything. Let's hit Tomb Raider 3 now. So Tomb Raider 3 really was the litmus of what they expected and learned from all the other previous games. Tomb Raider 3 is a highlight not only in graphics, animation, but sound as well. And I'm going to show off some of the sound because I think Tomb Raider 3 has some of the best. So I really love the sound quality and the ambience to the way Tomb Raider 3 functions. It definitely gets a lot of things right, and you can tell by this point that they learned how to actually make an action-adventure game and give you tense moments. Yes, it does have a lot of the same confusing environments as Tomb Raider 2, and it does have a lot of the exciting moments you get from Tomb Raider 1, but really truly incorporating that with the sound and features themselves gave Tomb Raider 3 a certain premium feel to it. By this point, they were almost done with the PS1 and they kinda knew exactly what they were dealing with. I really enjoy Tomb Raider 3 and I think it has a great story and a great feel to it. But it is something that you have to be aware of. It's not really expected that you know how to play it right off the bat. Tomb Raider 3 has some really cool environments and locales too. Taking place in the whole Mexico, South America area, it allowed them to play a lot with the environments and hide a lot of things. Now, once again, you may need to dig into that book, that map book, because there are a lot of hidden features and things you wouldn't expect or understand. Tomb Raider 3 is definitely the litmus for all three of them, but at the same time, they expect you to know a lot more about the game. The water effects are amazing in this game too, way better than the other games. And then on top of that, the enemy variety really does add really a lot to the game. There is so many more enemies and so many different types and varieties to face that it is a lot of fun. Well, that's going to go ahead and do it for today's video, folks. So thank you for watching this video. It was a blast to make. I upload every single Monday. If you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe. And have a great rest of your day. This is Ogre27 Kane, signing out.